Namaste, everyone. I'm going to share with you one of the deepest healings that we will do on the twin flame journey, as well as the most challenging healing that we will have to experience throughout this lifetime. As well as we're going to get into a meditation towards the end that will help us to clear away the roadblocks to experiencing unconditional love, giving and receiving love, reciprocity in love, as well as healing the inner child, healing the heart, opening up the heart, awakening the heart, so that we can experience fulfillment in love. Fulfillment in love. So that we can really begin to move our energy with our twin flame on this journey of life into co-creation, into creative collaboration, into fulfilling these soul contracts that we have. So your soul contract with your twin flame will be different for each and every one of you. Each and every one of you, it is for you to uncover. And all twin flames are here to help each other grow. But when we look at the bigger picture and all of the lifetimes we've had, not all of those lifetimes we've had with our twin flame is romantic. We're married to them, right? In many incarnations, they can be a friend, they can be even a parent, a sibling, it can be a lover, right? So it's for you to uncover your experience with your twin flame in this life. Now, with our soul agreement, that is also, it changes as we grow and as we initiate ourselves further, because it is upon us, right? We are connected to God. God is within us. So the changes that we make, the decisions that we make, does affect our soul contract. It's constantly evolving as we make decisions, out of courage, out of confidence, out of fearlessness, out of a place of healing. That brings so much transformation to the twin flame journey just through our willingness to step up in our own life. And that will be different for each and every one of us. So when we start to step up and start to reclaim our power, when we start to clear away dusty old sort of behaviors and habits, and when we really start to take the initiative, really start to move forward, following our heart, these type of things, when we really start to work through these mountains of our life with a sense of grit and resilience, that brings so much death and rebirth, and immense transformation on the twin flame journey. So I want to discuss about one of the deepest healings, as well as the most challenging healing on the twin flame journey. That is the childhood. The childhood sets up the stage for what we subconsciously believe is a relationship. So though we're an adult, we're 25, 45, 55, and we're independent, we're not living with our parents. Some of us have maybe even completely disconnected from our parents. We maybe even live across the country, or even in a totally different geographic region on this planet, right? Thousands of miles from our parents. Some of us don't even speak to our parents, right? Subconsciously, we are holding a pattern for relationship standard of what we believe deep inside of ourselves, what we are going to have in a relationship, what we're going to have. So the first relationship we have as a child is a girl with the father, boy with the mother. And then also we witness and observe the relationship relay between the father and the mother. And that really affects us. It sets up a ideal within us, right? This is the ideal. So if the relationship in whatever that relationship is, it'll be different for every single one of you. It creates this ideal, this standard. It creates a relationship that subconsciously you are expecting to have. Even though as an adult you're independent, you're like, no way, right? I want that relationship, or I sort of want it, but I want it different in some way, right? So when it comes to the twin flame journey, how that really affects us, especially as twin flames, is because we are meant to embody the soul, right? We are meant to basically experience deep healing of the inner child, and we're meant to embody that inner child in this life. So a lot of that inner child has to really unlock that inner child within ourselves, has a lot to do with healing the childhood and the human condition associated with that childhood. So I will share my experience. Again, we are from 0 to 9, we are inner child. We are in the mere reflection of our soul embodiment. It sets up the sort of pattern of our creative expansion in this life. But then the human condition begins to ingrain in us shame, feelings of not being good enough, and judgment. And then we start to, instead of defining ourselves according to our soul embodiment, our inner child, we start to define ourselves according to the world, the human condition, the shame, feelings of not being good enough, judgment. And then instead of growing according to the sort of creative expansion of that inner child, of that soul embodiment, we're starting to take on the human condition more so than the creative expansion, the human condition, right? The world, right? So a part of the twin flame journey is to experience higher creativity, is to experience lineage, is to experience prosperity. It is a fifth dimensional experience. But that fifth, the sort of, I would like to say, the key holder for this fifth dimensional prosperity, creativity, and lineage is the inner child, is the soul embodiment. But what happens is when we are, again, wrapped up in the human condition with a lot of shame, a lot of feelings not being good enough, a lot of judgment, what happens is we start to not listen to our inner child. We can ignore our inner child. We can neglect our inner child, right? We have so much feelings of unworthiness. We have so much feelings of not being good enough, all of that, such low self-esteem on this planet in general. So what happens is we start to sabotage. We start to push and pull, we start to toy with the idea of true love, but then not really believing it, not really taking action towards it. And then what happens? We fulfill these sort of, we fulfill what it is that we believe the strongest. So if in a lot of our belief of love has a lot to do with what our childhood was and what we experience with our father if we're a woman, with our mother as if we're a man, and then the relationship dynamic between the mother and father. So we may, on our heart of heart, know true love is real, right? Beyond just the Disney stuff. I'm talking about unconditional love. I'm talking about soul love. I'm talking about love of many lifetimes. That's beyond the romantic Disney, Snow White, Cinderella type of stuff, right? Comes directly from something of a higher dimension. That's what it is, a higher vibration. It's not even of this planet Earth. Really, it doesn't originate from this Earth. It originates from the stars because it's very ancient, a lot older than this Earth, right? So that's the type of true love that many of us feel on the twin flame journey. Now, your childhood healing will be different for you. So I'm going to explain my own healing so I can kind of set up a sort of method maybe for you and how you can reflect upon your your relationship with your mother or father, right? If you're a man, you'll reflect upon the relationship with your mother. And if you're a woman, you'll reflect on the relationship you had with the father. And then you will also witness the mother and father dynamic and how that has defined what a relationship is for you. Now, again, a lot of this is bigger than just it's your father, it's the father, he's the issue, the mother, the issue, whatever it is. I've discovered in my own sort of uncovering is that it goes for many generations, really. The kind of low self-esteem that creates these type of patterns that a lot of people don't know how to break. They don't know how to break these type of patterns and repeat them within their own relationships, and then their kids repeat them, right? And then it's so on, right? And that's what we can call like a generational curse, right? Where you don't know how to break the low self-esteem pattern, right? Of because a lot of us, when we really begin to develop this meditative mind and really start to bring awareness to this relationships, in my personal experience, I have viewed in meditation 3 relationships that I was drawn to very strongly. And these relationships, 2 of them wasn't even romantic. It was just a friend, but something I was drawn to very strongly, right? And I went into my meditative mind and I wanted to discover why was I drawn to this. And then I started to put them all side by side and realize, wait a minute, all of these people, they're different, but they're the same. And that's a common thing that we do when we start to really awaken the healing of the childhood. We start to, wait a minute, all of these people, I've had 8 boyfriends or girlfriends, but when I really look at it, they're like all the same. It's all the type of same relationship. It may be different, some, different zodiacs, or they're different nationalities or ethnicities, whatever it is. But when you get down to the sort of root of that person, you find that there's a similar thing, and it will come to you naturally what that is. Because it will be the thing in you that brings up the most trigger in that relationship. The thing that triggers you the most, the thing that upsets you the most, usually is that inner childhood wound, right? So for myself, I looked at 3 relationships that triggered me, right? And that trigger will bring up emotions. It will bring up grief. It will bring up all kinds of insecurities, imbalances, all kinds of feeling of unworthiness, and all of that. It will bring that up within your heart. So I noticed what came up the most in these three partnerships. Again, they're all different people. They're not connected. There's no affiliation. And in my sort of journaling, when I would just journal out what triggered me the most in these partnerships that led to deep grief or sadness or feeling unworthy or feeling just feeling out of sorts, feeling not good enough, or feeling shame, or feeling the judgment, that that human condition. What really brought up that human condition in these 3 relationships I discovered was feeling rejected. So unrequited love, right, or unreciprocated love. That was a big one, where I would get really triggered by that pattern. I would feel really, really upset and grieve a lot. So unrequited love, unreciprocated love, feeling uncared for, unseen, unheard, unappreciated. That was a common theme in these 3 relationships, and the pattern, what really triggered me in all of them. And also all of these people had closed heart chakras. All of them had closed heart chakras, and all of them had some sort of like a substance, some sort of addiction, like alcohol, or some sort of smoking, or all of the above, had some sort of addiction. And they needed to numb. They needed to numb out. And when I went deeper, I discovered that all of these 3 men, all of them had issue with the mother, issue with the father, right? All of these men in some way felt abandoned by their father, right? Or neglected, or there's some sort of inner anger towards the parents in general, right? Because the parents, each of these individuals, their parent, they had like a dysfunctional parent dynamic, right? Which could have been like divorce in one of them, where there was this sort of awkwardness where they don't even talk with each other, that kind of immaturity thing, right? Another, the father was abusive and left, and the mother was just alone with the child. And then another, again, something, the mother had a sort of a short relationship with the father, conceived a child, and the father just left, was not taking care of the child, right? Was like a player or something like that, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, there's something going on, right? And then another pattern I also noticed was, again, the heart chakra, and the was me wanting to nurture, wanting to heal their heart. That was a similar pattern with it. And in all of these relationships, I was quote unquote trying to heal their heart, trying to heal their heart. So in all these relationships, I was, as a friend, right, giving healing, trying to help these people heal from their past, because all of these people, I'll notice, they all had they had some kind of relationship past. Like, they've been in relationships. Lot of them, I noticed that they were just sexual relationships, like low self-esteem relationships, right? That led to all kinds of like regret and guilt and these type of things. So I came in and I was like, here, I give you my wisdom, let me help you heal your heart, right? So I would do that, and in these relationships, it wouldn't go anywhere, right? It would just be me sending healing, but it wouldn't go anywhere. And even at the end of these partnerships, their heart really never did open, right? And also, in the end, when I, again, go from the beginning to the end of each of these relationships, in the end of these relationships, these partners did not value what I had to offer then and there, right? When it ended very very unfeeling is what the word I'd say. It's very unfeeling, like very numb, very like emotionless, like there was no feeling, like empty type of people, right? When it came to the ending, right? So that mirrors a lot of my relationship with my father. And this took me maybe like 2 years of journaling to I have so many books. I mean, they could probably stack up to the ceiling from the floor, right? It took me years of journaling, right? And a lot of times we will not know our relationship with our parent until we actually have relationships as an adult. That's only how I was able to really discover these root wounds. It's because of what we call these catalyst relationships, or these relationships that awaken something in me or trigger me and bring up these kinds of uncomfortable sort of wounds in me that I didn't even think I had, right? When you're 21, you're like, I don't have a wound. I'm young, right? I've never been in a relationship, but why am I so triggered? Why am I so upset? Why am I in this type of relationship, in this pattern that's not fulfilling, right? That makes me feel just very low about myself, right? So all of that is basically a blessing given to us by the divine, because when we are triggered, when we're cracked open, that's when we can really look, bring awareness. That's when we can really heal, right? And redirect the course. Because if we don't, what happens if we just remain not really paying attention? We could be like 45 and have 10 relationships. They're all the same, and not really meet the fulfillment in a real love connection, right? The real love connection that's beyond patterns that probably been going on before you were even born within your parents and your grandparents, right? So the twin flame journey is very different in the way that it is come to end the generational curse or the generational pattern of relationship, right? It's meant to break it down. It's meant to experience this you're in the breakdown, you get to rebuild, right? You're rebuilding the type of relationship through the destruction of bringing awareness to this relationship pattern, allowing yourself to really deconstruct it, allowing the guides to help you, right? Well, they will rip the rug underneath your feet. All of a sudden you'd be like, you thought a week ago you were in love, and then all of a sudden you're divorced, right? Or all kinds of things will happen as a way of the divine helping you to deconstruct a pattern that you might even know what's going on, until you get to that moment where you're cracked open, and then you get to really see how you maybe most likely have been playing a generational pattern of love that is not that needs to be expanded upon, right? Not that it's good, not that it's bad, it needs creative expansion, right? Every relationship of many, many generations, every single one on this planet, of all of the mothers, the grandmothers, great grandmothers, all of it needs to be expanded creatively, right? So my relationship with my father and how it mirrored to me this pattern is my father died when I was 6 years old, right? Very abruptly. And so again, the end of that relationship with my father, I very much tried to, I feel like I numbed it for years, because I don't remember dealing with the death of my father until I became around 11. So years have gone by. Before that, I don't know what I was doing. I think I was isolating myself. I think that I just don't remember, right? Until I was 11, that's when I really started to, you can say, awaken and heal from the death of my father. So in the end, there was some sort of, I was unfeeling, I was numb, I was trying to like hide, right? I was trying to take care of my mother, right? So I was trying to emotionally be the one that holds the space, right? As a little girl, right? For my mother and for our whole household, for myself, right? So that again creates a pattern in relationships with men where I'm the one trying to hold, the emotions, right? Trying to hold them together and hold myself together, right? And also attracting men who could be somewhat, numb, also has to do with me having, as that little girl, numbing the challenges within my own life to just keep it going, but not realizing that creates a sort of emptiness within myself, right? Or unfeeling type of quality of person. So the deep relationship pattern, again, you can put it into almost 3 categories. You don't have to put it into like 20 different sort of miscellaneous boxes. You really want to put it into like 3 sort of groups is what I have narrowed it down. And for me, it is men. My father had a very closed heart chakra due to past relationships that wounded him, and due to relationship in his with his brothers and in his childhood with his own father and his own mother, having a dynamic with the father and mother, my grandparents, that was not very loving, we could say, as the way there was some sort of resentment or some sort of tension, right? Some unspoken tension in the unresolved sort of issues, right? Some sort of conditioned love that was kind of a little bit agitated, right? So he had this closed heart chakra. So as a little girl, right, I was playing, and I was always playing by myself in the field, and he was never really in his inner child. right? He has some sort of closed heart chakra because of his own the human condition that he struggled with from his childhood. So again, the generational pattern is coming up. It's all interconnected, right? So you can't just go to your father and say, hell with you, right? Because most likely, if you go deep, you'll find that they had some sort of childhood as well, right? But the point of not going back is to kind of keep, just look at all the generations, right? It's a matter of fact, the point of it is looking at how you can have the compassion, bring the awareness, and reinvent yourself is really what we want to do. The point is to reinvent yourself. So men who closed heart chakra because of a past, that of regret or guilt and harboring resentment, right? My father had that, that really blocked the flow of love, play, wonder, joy, inner child, right? He had that inner child, but he just wouldn't let it come out because of the closed heart chakra, right? So there was that kind of feeling of wanting to connect with my father, but then also feeling blocked from connecting with my father because of he was closed. He had a closed heart chakra, right? So as a little girl, I'm like, right? And I want to connect. But then I always felt like I was hitting like a wall or something, right? So then in the relationships, as an adult, it mirrors the same thing. I'm like, right? I'm like, right? I want to connect, but then there's a wall. There's some sort of past parental type of memory or resentment or something that creates a block from this person fully opening up and just letting loose and really being in their joy, right? So that was one, a closed heart chakra that I have to navigate through. And then the second category has a lot to do with feeling uncared for, unseen. So while my father, in his sort of trying to, work with his emotions, right, in many ways maybe numbing the emotions, right, his own childhood that weighed really heavy on his heart chakra, there was this numbness, right? So as a girl, 5 years old, 3 years old, I'm like, right, I'm jumping off the walls, right? I have so much love to give. I'm just so a bubble of love, right? And creativity. So I would feel this sort of disconnect. Like I'm not seen. I have to I'm not heard, right? I'm like, hello, right? That type of thing, right? I want attention. So that in that second category, the triggers me the most is going into a relationship, having these men that they don't really give me much attention. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard. I don't feel valued, right? I don't feel the love. I don't feel the love in that, right? There's something emotionless. There's something like numb about the connections, right? And then the third category, again, I'm all sharing this with you so you can do your own sort of, use your own time space machine called your meditative mind to uncover some things that can help you, right? The point of us going into the childhood in like hypnosis, creating the connections between, the father, the mother, our current relationships, is so that we can reinvent ourselves, not to dwell. Right? We're not sympathizing, we're not being sentimental, we're wanting to look so that we can see what we're doing so that we can reinvent ourselves, redefine ourselves accordingly, right? So the third category, so the first one is a closed heart chakra, right? Due to regret, guilt, their own childhood with parents had some sort of disharmony, right? Agitation, resentments, that kind of, parent, there's sort of being scorned or dissatisfied, that type of thing, kind of agitated. And then the second thing is some sort of numbness, right? numbness, very, very dealing with emotional loss, grieving, not knowing how to cope with it, being kind of disembodied, right? So it's hard to connect with your child if you are disembodied in any way, fragmented, right? In grief that you're not letting go of, right? So, and then the third thing is in this category that are all sort of interconnected if you look, right? They're all in this sort of same stream of thought. The third category I discovered in comparison between my father relationship and the three men that I was strongly drawn to, that was not fulfilling, is the low self-esteem. That's what it is. Low self-esteem, right? Low self-esteem in the way that my father was very brilliant, very handsome man, big, sort of big eyes, like, Cherokee, sort of Arabian, like large, alien eyes, right? Handsome. And was very, very smart, very brilliant, these type of things, very connected to nature, loved animals, but yet the low self-esteem had him participating in relationships that would go nowhere, that were not of even a high quality type of relationships, right? That would actually make him feel worse about himself, because these type of connections were not very soulful, right? Didn't really elevate him. It kind of just downgraded him, right? So that's something that I saw in these relationship patterns, where they would do the same thing. They would sabotage love. They would sabotage their opportunities, their success in love or in relationships, due to low self-esteem. So there's a lot about sabotage that I've noticed in these relationships with men that I've had, right? So closed heart chakra, numbness, and low self-esteem is something that, again, really triggered me in these connections, that really made me like cry and experience grief and make me feel like, what is this? Like, just unfulfillment. And I was like, why am I drawn to these people? That's a simple question. Why was I drawn to these people strongly? There's 7.7 billion people, but I was drawn to them for a reason, right? So when I meditate upon my sort of duty to my lineage, you could say, as a woman, right? Part of, sort of a generational makeup, right? When I look at the many relationships, my father's side, my mother's side, all of that kind of people, I've noticed that my duty to reinventing the generation has to do with self-worth. And I'm sure that's for all of us, because we're all connected, right? Self-worth. And also creating, it's kind of my duty is to create a highly loving relationship that's emotionally fulfilling. Because when I look at the various relationships in the type of around me, right, with my family members, the one thing that seems there's a sort of emptiness is the emotional component, right? So my duty is relationship of emotional fulfillment, not just financial, emotional fulfillment, right? So this is something that you can uncover. Yours might be financial fulfillment. You might be part of many generations where they have this love, but then there is no security for their kids, and there's many generations of that. So you need the balance of the scales. Right? So that's for you to uncover. So in recognizing that, I can also reinvent. So when I look at the category of being drawn to men who are, have a closed heart chakra, what I do is I open my heart chakra. I focus on how I can open my heart chakra. Because whatever I do for myself, I'm doing for relationship I will be in the future. Right? So for me, opening my heart chakra helps me to become more magnetic to men who have an open heart chakra. Right? And then also the sort of polarity to working on open heart chakra, which all of us, right, the polarity, right, is also working on discernment, which is understanding the giving and receiving, the two sides to opening up the heart, right? And for me, they're learning what it is to give and receive, not just try to open up forcefully people's heart chakras, right? Like I did for my father, trying to like do whatever I could to just get them to open up, and they would never open up, but just a little bit, right? So through opening up my own heart chakra, I'm able to become more magnetically drawn to people of open heart chakra, and also through my discernment, I can bring awareness to people that are not ready to open their heart chakra, and they're not ready for me. And that doesn't mean, there's something wrong with them. No, it means that that's not a partner I'm going to choose in a sort of love relationship, right? And that's fine. Just bring the awareness, and that will help you to move forward, to keep it moving, right? And then the second category with numbness that we mentioned, right? Numbness, kind of unfeeling, right? Is looking to become more available to myself, to my needs, right? That would help me become more magnetic to a relationship that is available. And I'm just talking about available as in single, available as in emotionally, meaning they're not clogged by all this resentment and this guilt and stuff of the past, right? Now, everybody has their issues, whatever that is, right? We're human. We all have this human condition that's not so easy to navigate, right? So there's a sense of compassion for whoever partner you choose, right? And whoever, you're with. There's the level, we're all in this human condition, right? Shame, feelings not being good enough, and judgment. That frankly, from generations before us, was a lot heavier than it is now, right? Because we have tools, a lot of tools that are freely available. Go on YouTube type of stuff, right? So we're very, very creative at this time on this planet. We are becoming even more so. So for me, is working on becoming available and taking care of my own needs so that I can feel very whole within myself, so that I'll be more magnetically drawn to the wholeness within a person, right? Instead of the numbness, the disembodiment of a person, right? So becoming more whole within myself makes me more magnetic to that sort of wholeness within another person, right? And then the third, the healing, the reinventing and redefining this deep subconscious idea and ideal of love. The third one is low self-esteem. So through working on confidence within myself, right, and my ability to make things happen, to change the energy, to follow through on things, that makes me more magnetically drawn to men who, as well, follow through on things, move the energy, know how to like take care of themselves, these type of things, right? And just bringing that awareness when you go into these relationships. Your father, again, I'm a woman, so my father-daughter relationship will probably be with me until my whole life, right? And it's not something that you're gonna just, I got awareness and just escape it. It will always somewhat be there in your subconscious, right? So in some part of me, I'll always sort of be drawn to relationships that mirror to me my father, because I love my father deeply, unconditionally, because I am his daughter, right? And that's just how it is spiritually, right? So is just bringing the awareness, right? Bringing, again, this sort of 3 categories I have mapped out within my meditative mind that helps me deal with the things that will come up in my when I'm triggered, and the sort of subconscious things that come up. And when I look at relationships, if dating or connecting, not just romantically, but just men in general, I can start to see, okay, there's some sort of pattern, right? And as I continue to remedy, right, these 3 categories, remedy, the more I'm going to see the magnetic kind of dynamic between these men change. I'll start to see, wait, this man has an open heart chakra, right? He had a closed one, but now he has an open heart chakra. That's different. I haven't seen that kind of pattern. Or I'll start to see I was drawn to men that kind of, sort of disconnected and numb, and maybe alcohol and stuff. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute, this man, he's actually, really consolidated, right, with himself. Really, he's in his man power, right? And then you'll start to see with the 3rd category, wow, he's very confident, right? And it's sort of, he doesn't sabotage so easily. While before, men were just so quickly to sabotage, just, tomorrow, not work out, right? So that's the kind of journey that we can do with ourselves. So the next thing I want to do is I want to show you a practice, a healing practice, so you can take this healing practice with you on your own sort of journey. I shared with you my experience, like I said, to provide you a method, because there's so many people out there, all of the possibilities for relationships in the childhood, and relationship blockages that have to do with the childhood could be so infinite, right? So I use my own to kind of show you how you can apply this to better navigate through your childhood. Okay, so I go into this meditation, I really focus on 3 things, like 3 big categories, and you can even see it as 3 umbrellas, and under these there are teardrops. Under the umbrella there's all kinds of teardrops, right? And they're all sort of different things, but you bring them into one sort of word, right? So when I did the category closed heart chakra, I had all kinds of little micro things that I discovered about my father-daughter relationship, right? Such as resentment, sort of wounds in his childhood, guilt, regret from past relationships, not really being present, right? I as a child felt somewhat he's elsewhere, right? So you can do that for the 3 categories, but create one word, choose one word, and use your diction wisely that best describes the total sort of energy of what you're trying to reinvent, what you're trying to heal, right? And then write the remedy. So 3 categories and then 3 remedies. So they're kind of the polarity, right? So I have closed heart for my father relationship. The remedy on the other side is working on opening my heart, working on giving and receiving love, and what that means, right? To give and receive love through opening up my own heart, becoming vulnerable and intimate the way that my father maybe was never, right? So that will help me to reinvent my childhood type of father-daughter relationship. And then the category numbness, the remedy for that, right, is about getting to know my needs. What makes me feel whole, right? Feeling, possibly my father was disconnected, right? In that, what makes me feel whole, right? How can I reinvent that type of pattern within my subconscious? The remedy is taking care of my needs, right? Feeling whole, right? And that's something that my father did as well, to try to remedy his childhood. doing things that make him feel whole, like riding horses and nature and fishing, right? And the third category, what I have is low self-esteem. The remedy for me is in relationship is working on confidence, being seen, being heard, expressing myself, not being afraid to express myself, right? Being drawn, really focusing on partnership that is very empowering, transformative, right? So that is what the remedy, 3 categories and the 3 remedies. So now we'll get into the meditation. So what I like to do in my meditation space is I use 2 particular crystals that are very, very powerful for really enhancing the meditative mind, but also the sort of the healing, right? As we uncover, transmute, and then really reinvent and transform the energy, right? So that we can move forward, right? The one thing about why people get very frustrated is they keep looping the same relationship, the same behavior, the same habit, and they get really angry, and they get angry and angry, right? Because they don't want to go into it and actually transmute and move it, because it could be very painful to do so. But in doing so, you move the energy, you move on. And that's something that when you're in the pain, it could feel like years of dark night of the soul, as it was for me in healing the death of my father. But when you get through it and you start to see, wait, I moved on, I'm so transformed, you actually realize how it is worth it, right? Because you're not carrying it anymore. You're not from 25 to like 85 been carrying the whole thing and not really moving on, right? And then just feeling angry because we're angry because we're not in our life force. We're not actually moving the energy. We're not following our heart, not listening to our intuition, right? That makes us angry when we do that, right? Because we're in this life because we, on a soul level, on a spiritual level, we really want to have these particular experiences, but we have to move on from certain things to actually have those things that our soul wants, right? And it's a process, right? Like for me, years, right? So I like to I have a citrine sort of holder. I have in my left hand, which is my medicine hand, my female hand. And then I have black tourmaline, which is for clearing negativity, a dark crystal. I have it in my left hand, which is my holding hand, right? My masculine hand. So then I just hold it tight on leave the hands on the knees, and I just, spine is tall, as you can join me if you have these crystals. And I'm just closing my eyes and just feeling the balance, the harmonization between both hemispheres of the brain, both sides of the body, like they're kind of intertwining, like the Kundalini symbol, like 2 serpents sort of intertwining. So just visualize my hemispheres of the brain and both sides of the body are kind of intertwining in this Shakti dance. The masculine and feminine within me are dancing in collaboration with each other. That's pure creation, pure creation. So then when I close my eyes, I bring awareness as I breathe. I bring awareness to the relationships I've had. Even a relationship that I may have an attachment to, even presently, that I might not be with them romantically, sexually. It might have been months that we broke up, or even if we're friends, no longer friends, but there's still some sort of attachment because I think about them a lot, or have this kind of, I can just know I have an attachment. It's just to bring awareness to any relationship that that comes to you naturally. It has triggered something within you, awakened something within you. It's very rememberable because shortly after the relationship, you went on a spiritual journey in some way, or you learned something very transformative. It put you in a particular direction that was very empowering for you. Even in the sadness and the grief and the feeling of like feeling terrible or whatever it is, it puts you in a direction towards healing. regardless of what we feel, that the pain and the sadness and all of that, it moved you into personal power. It forced you to grow up in any way, to look at yourself. Just bring awareness to these relationships. Look at them. Now, I want you to look at the pattern. Find a pattern that you see in all these relationships. A pattern from the beginning to the end of each of these relationships. I want you to look at a pattern that you have. So when you could have 3 relationships, just focus on 3. We can focus on 5, 10, but let's just go to 3 that were most significant, highly rememberable. And just look and see a pattern, a very significant pattern within all of these relationships, the start of them and the end of them. So when I look at my 3 relationships, I see the word, I feel what comes to me naturally is men not being expansive enough, not knowing how to hold a relationship, not having a container for a relationship, not creating space for a relationship. That's a pattern. And then me being excluded, feeling no attention, right? So your pattern, look at your pattern. I'll just give you an example. Let whatever comes to you come to you. And as you do this meditation more, you will uncover more things. You will journal them out. And you will uncover the 3 categories and the 3 remedies that will help you to reinvent and redefine love. Now, if you have the pattern, I want you now to look at, if you're a woman, look at your father, or it could be a male. If you don't know your father, it could be a male caretaker or a grandfather, a strong influence in the years of 0 to 9 years old. Or it could be you're looking at your mother. If you have no male in your life from 0 to 9, looking at the mother and the masculinity within the mother. Because when you don't have a father as a girl, you tend to, your mother's masculinity tends to be your father. So your mother basically holds the father relationship in her. Then if you're a man, you'll look at your mother. Again, if you didn't have a mother, you'll look at the femininity around you from 0 to 9. A grandmother, an aunt. Could also be the female energy within your father. And just look at them and see your relationship with them. How is it from 0 to 9? How do you feel? Focus on your feelings, not so much the thoughts, the feelings. Do you feel received as a child? Do you feel supported? Do you feel cared for? Do you feel nourished? Do you feel nourished, nurtured? Do you feel given to? So just bring awareness. Did you feel given to? What is the main theme of your relationship with if you're father and daughter, mother and son? What is the theme? It will come to you very naturally. You won't have to think. It will come to you very naturally. So what comes to me Looking at the theme of my father and daughter relationship is wanting my father to connect with me, wanting him to connect with me intimately, to be vulnerable, to be open-hearted, wanting like a deeper connection, like an emotional connection, not really feeling an emotional connection as much as I would have wanted. So look at your pattern. What is your theme? You may feel some grief, some sadness. You may feel some type of way. Let it come out. So let it fan out as though you're fanning it out, venting it out of the heart. If you have anger, resentment, guilt, let it fan out. And if you're really struggling, then really, I like to use this mantra, victory, victory, victory. As you imagine yellow light all around you, that will give you the power to face whatever inner demons or terrorizing, traumatic experiences. It will help you to overcome it, to transmute anything that's really, really heavy into transformation. So if it's really something heavy and difficult for you to work with, mentally chant victory, 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 as you see the yellow of your solar plexus expand all around your body. And anything that's so heavy, you're going to imagine it turning into blue, gas stove blue, like an indigo blue. That will help you to really unlock the mind so that you can really breathe this childhood free, so that you can move on, so that you don't have to carry it. You can reinvent it. You can be reformed from it. Now I want you to now focus your awareness on the father and mother relationship. What is the relationship between your mother and father? What is that relationship? From 0 to 9 years old, 0 to 18 years old, go into your childhood. What is the main theme of the relationship between the mother and the father that you feel in your heart? What did you feel as a child, your relationship your mother and father had? What do you feel? What is the main theme? So what I get is my mother trying to help my father move on from the past. That's what comes up very, very distinctly for me. So your theme will be different. Again, it's going to be something that you're unlocking these emotions of what you felt as a child. And as you return to this meditation, you may go deeper and find even more sort of themes that will all kind of be connected and interrelated. Now I want you to look at the remedy. What is your remedy? Focusing on you as an individual, as an independent person, you as you, with your own soul agreement, your own soul contract with the earth, your own life purpose that is connected to your ancestors but not bound to them in the patterns of the past. Now connect with what brings you fulfillment. So just go into your own emotions, your own feelings of the soul level and see what is your fulfillment in love. As a unique person that is your own person. It's not your mother, your father, your lineage, your ancestors, your culture, society, ethnicity, race, sex. You as a soul being, what is your fulfillment in love? So for me, I get creativity, emotional fulfillment, being appreciated and supported wholeheartedly. That's something that is a remedy to my childhood, something that excites me, something that makes me feel elevated and empowered. Just focus on that. Whatever comes up, what fulfills you in love? And if you do not know, you can return and you can go deeper. And if you're having difficulty opening your heart, right, if you've been suppressed emotionally or stoic or kind of hard on yourself for a very long time, I want you to imagine your heart. I want you to see it in this pink energy, and that will help to soften the heart. So if you've been very closed off, very afraid, intimacy, vulnerability, just imagine that soft pink, and it will really sort of loosen up the breath. It will sort of relax the energy so that you can really start to feel into your heart and start to move past the kind of worries, that sort of choppy, rigid heart energy, and start to really get to the root of the fulfillment and love that inspires you, makes you feel alive, and makes you feel really, really connected to the earth. That's what love does. It makes us connected to the earth. When we don't have love, we don't feel connected to anything meaningful, and we tend to get lost in our own thoughts and have no feeling to really be led, no compass, no intuition, right? And that becomes very more difficult than it needs to be. Okay, so just feel that pink energy, and if you're really struggling, then also go into the lavender. See the purple, like a lighter purple. See that in the heart? That will also soften it. That will do a little of a deeper sort of massage of the heart energy if you really need to open it up. So for many of you men, you may want to focus on the purple, the sort of the lavender. And you can, even if you're a man especially, you can get lavender, the lavender leaves, and you can even rub it on your chest like this, like the leaf, and you could smell it, and then rub it. And as a woman, you can do this as well, right? Rub it like really firm, like almost so you feel it's red. And that will help to open up the heart, especially if you're really, really closed off. And then also you can put it under the armpits as well and rub it under the armpits, and that will also relax the nervous system. It will also relax all the sort of systems in the body, so that you can really loosen up and really like drop in and let go. Okay? So just see you in the remedy, the fulfillment, the soul level in a relationship. Okay, so we navigated through the pattern in the relationships. We look at the parent. We look at the parents together. We're looking at the remedy, our fulfillment of love as a unique, sovereign being. And then look at that extend into a relationship. See yourself now extending this remedy into a relationship. What does love, fulfillment relating to a significant other feel like in this space, in this higher vibrational space? And focus on a main theme that really excites you and inspires you and makes you feel good. So what comes up for me right away is a relationship relating to a significant other who raises my self-worth through their support of whatever it is I'm doing. And again, a lot of when you're looking at this relating to your significant other, the theme that most inspires you, it will be a sort of upgrade from most likely what your parents experienced, right? If you're a woman, what your mother experienced in relationship with your father. So, for example, my mother, she felt her self-worth felt lowered in some ways, right? Through the kind of unresolved sort of insecurities, right? That comes up. So this is an upgrade, right? You're healing the generations, which heals your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your father, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and so on. So just see the upgrade, see the reinvention, the redefinition of love that comes through your own remedy. You deciding to heal and evolve beyond the past into what is you as a unique person fulfills you. So really take back that sovereignty. So for me, I'm hearing emotional fulfillment, creative expansion, co-creation. These are big words, very expansive, very an upgrade. And just see it, feel it, smell it, ethereally smell it. And then see the traits of the significant other, the beauty, and focus on the beauty. Again, every significant person we have in our life, every human being has their healing through the human condition, which is different for everyone. But see the beauty, the beautiful traits, the beautiful, which is just so beautiful when you're with this person, looking at this person. What is the traits, the characteristic, that kind of beauty? And go into, you can go up to 5 things. This beautiful traits, characteristics about this person. And you can journal this out so you can remember after this meditation. So what is so beautiful about this person in that you're connecting to in your mind's eye? So I have my own. So in my mind's eye, I have emotionally stable, heartfelt, an emperor, like a professional, very wise in that field. I see supportive, and a forward thinker, forward mover, futurist. And then just see the expansion happening within you that is helping you to move on from the past, where we've been in that past on this planet, in all sort of generations, all ancestors, relationships of the past, and see yourself moving into the future that's very different from the past. The relationships of the future are not even comparison to the past, because there's a upgrade, a human upgrade, a healing that's happening. So see that healing that's taking place within you that brings about this rebirth in relationship, that grants you relationship that is completely different from parents, grandparents, so on, in a way that is aligned with you or your soul fulfillment, your sort of focus on this incarnation, what feeds you, what nourishes you. And then inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Begin to drop into your heart. You can open up your eyes, drop into your heart, feel your heart burning like a white flame. Inhale, exhale. Now bring the two crystals together. Bring the two crystals together here at the heart, and just feel that sort of emerging of energy as you feel the transmutation of whatever that you've gathered in the right hand. And then see the transmutation as this selenite clears away the energy, clears away, clearing the roadblocks, healing and restoring the peace within you. So just feel that energy adjustment. So you're holding these crystals at your heart and you're feeling the recalibration of your heart, the recalibration of your mind. You're feeling more open, you're feeling unblocked, and you're feeling more receptive to your feelings, your intuition, as they're helping you to navigate through these generations of the past, so you can create the healing in the present, so you can have the rebirth, the transformation, and the relationship that is of your higher soul path in this life. Inhale, exhale. So that is just a little meditation that you can do daily to really, if you want to do some heavy duty reparenting of your childhood, so that you can really set yourself up for success in relationship, be more magnetic to a relationship that fulfills you on the soul level, that helps, that is evolved beyond childhood, childhood unresolved sort of patterns that are repeating, right? That we may not even be aware of until we start to breathe into the mind, breathe into the heart, and start to really become direct, become truthful with ourselves in a space of compassion, not a space of judgment. So everything I said is in a space of compassion, is a space of I'm being direct, I'm being open to how I feel as an individual, as me, right? So that I can heal, right? So that I can open up to love. So everything that I said was coming from a place of sacredness, coming from a place of I am being honest with myself so that I can really get to some root stuff, root healing, so that I can start to really open the door towards greater fulfillment, right? And that's going to take me really creating compassion, and it really starts with being honest with ourselves, right? In our own sort of meditative mind, right? That will help us to really get into the root of what it is we truly want on a soul level, right? What it is we truly need to heal, what we really need to focus on in a relationship, what kind of reinvention do we really need to have, what breakdown do we need to have in a relationship to really be reconstructed and reborn, right? So thank you for joining me. And I also, before I close, I want to talk about in the Twin Flame journey, this has a lot to do with the childhood. I just want to briefly mention it for myself, working with the rejection, right? Twin Flame rejection, right? Rejection or feeling rejected, uncared for, unseen, unheard, all of that. That can be pinned for everyone who's experienced that rejection. It has a lot to do with the childhood and abandonment, feeling abandoned emotionally, right? It doesn't mean you were abandoned physically, but there's some kind of abandonment. That could be they were numb, they were alcoholic, they were disconnected, they were always gone, they even low self-esteem, right? When a parent neglects themselves, that's like abandonment. When they neglect themselves and they check out, that type of thing. They watch TV for 10 hours a day, or they're never home, that can feel like abandonment, right? Even if they're a father that makes all this money, but they're never home but 2 days a week. That can feel in some way for a child who's 5 years old like abandonment, right? And that can show up in twin flame journey as rejection, in the way that your twin flame may not behave or do this or give you this, roses or whatever it is that you want to validate that they love you. And it can come from conditions that from generations of conditional love, right? That you've seen between your father and mother, right? So when your father didn't do this for your mother got upset. And you as a 3-year-old looked at that and was like, okay, that's right. That's what I'm supposed to do if I don't get what I want, right? If my person doesn't give me flowers or calls me at this time, then I'm going to get insecure because I saw my mother do that when I was 3 years old, right? At these little things, right? Or my father divorced my mother because she went through some sort of, midlife crises or something, right? And right, so that also will affect you as an adult, right? So for you in that scenario, that would be looking at both sides, right? Looking at both sides, being honest about it, and also giving it a compassion, and then reinventing it, looking at what do you want to do about it in your own free choice, in your own pathway of expansion, right? So you get to make a choice, right? It's not I'm on the father side or the mother side. Is you're making a choice through looking at both sides and then deciding, okay, what do I want to have that's different for me? What choices do I want to make that's evolved from that, right? So the rejection is protection in many ways, right? And that's something on the twin flame journey we need to remember. It's protection. So rejection can also be, as in the twin flame journey, is there's a sense of separation. I'm separate from my soul. I don't see you. I don't see myself. So in dealing with that is the compassion. We're all in this separation paradigm. I mean, we're all even isolated right now. There's billions of people on this planet who are isolated, separate from each other forcefully, right, for what's going on. So separation is huge in the collective consciousness. So when our twin flame rejects us or denies us or runs away from us or whatever it is, when the compassion is really through the meditative mind, listening to healing music, working on your creativity, that helps us to really recognize the separation that we're dealing with on this planet, how heavy it is. And you gain the strength when you start to really take it upon yourself to create the bridge. Not necessarily you to your twin flame, but you to your own soul, you to people around you, your community, your ancestors, your parents, you creating the bridge of love, right? When you take it upon yourself to create the bridge of love, you're going to start to experience over time, right? Then your twin flame will start they'll start to see themselves being more open to love, their own soul, and helping, they'll start to see them healing from the shame and feelings not being good enough and all this judgment on this planet that has us destroying each other, destroying ourselves, and so hostile, right, with each other, right? Trying to basically, knock each other down type of madness, right? So that's, I wanted to talk briefly about the rejection and how we can best navigate it, is really seeing God within yourself. Union, that's the best thing you can do. That could be yoga, that could be tarot cards, that could be meditation, that could be force bathing, that could be you taking a ceramics class. Create union, see God within yourself, prayer. The more that you start to feel union in yourself, less separation, more oneness within yourself with all things, right? More aware of the life lessons, the synchronicity, the prayer, the blessing, the good fortune, clearing away the all this generational curses, ancestral trauma. The more you start to do that, the more that you're going to start to really realize, right, the dissolving of the separation sort of in your own psyche, in your own consciousness. And then you will also, over time, if it is your twin flame, you'll start to see it happen within them as well, right? Again, but every twin flame has their own journey. We must remember that, right? And the whole journey of itself is about creating union with God within our own embodiment. It's about restoring the balance of the sort of energy on this planet, the balance on this, the energy where we as human beings are meant to be very masterful. We're meant to be very in tune with our energy, to be very in a healed state, to be in a healing sort of knowing how to heal, right? And that's what we're restoring through our sort of being a psychologist, right? A lot of twin flames are psychologists, basically. All of them are relationship psychologists, therapists. Basically, that's every twin flame I see. Either they're therapists through their art, they're actually psychologists, as in they have their sort of degree psychology. I've seen actual relationship therapy. That could be through crystal bowls, tarot, right? Because we're through that sort of self-psychology, that's where we're able to really learn how to heal ourselves again, and learn what it means to be on a healing journey and to be free, right? To face our challenges and to move on and to move forward instead of dwell and get stuck and then keep repeating in further future generations, right? So, whew, it's like, whoa, gotta like stretch from that kind of, download, right? But thank you for joining me, and Sat Nam.